I spent most of my life being invisible to my own family. They missed birthdays. They forgot promotions. They stopped calling altogether. But the day a photo of my condo went viral, my phone exploded. Not with apologies. With demands. And that's when I realized. They didn't miss me. They missed what I had. I was standing barefoot on the cold marble floor of my condo when the notification popped up. Sunday morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting soft shadows across furniture I'd chosen piece by piece over years of quiet rebuilding. I hadn't lived here long, but it already felt like the first place that truly belonged to me. The post was from my cousin Hannah. A photo taken during her overnight visit. Me laughing on the balcony, city skyline behind me, coffee in hand. The caption read, "Proud of my cousin Lauren. She built this life on her own." I smiled at that. Then my phone started vibrating non-stop. First came the likes. Then the comments. Then the messages. Aunt Denise asking where the condo was located. Uncle Mark wanting to know if I owned or rented. People who hadn't said my name out loud in years suddenly remembered how to spell it. And then, my mother. "Wow. I didn't realize you were doing so well." "No, how are you?" "No, I miss you." Just surprise. As if success was something that had happened to me without permission. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. Because the truth was, I wasn't surprised at all. Growing up, I learned early how to disappear quietly. My younger brother Ethan was the sun in our family universe. Every crisis orbited him. Every celebration belonged to him. When I graduated college with honors, my parents arrived late because Ethan had locked his keys in his car. When I landed my first job, my mom asked if I could help Ethan rewrite his resume. When I moved across the country for work, they hugged me goodbye while already discussing Ethan's next move. Eventually, the calls stopped. The holidays went quiet. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped expecting anything. What they didn't know was that while they weren't watching, I was building something solid. A career in cybersecurity. Years of overtime. Missed weekends. Lonely apartments. This condo wasn't luck. It was survival. The next message came from my father. "Looks expensive. Are you managing okay financially?" I almost laughed. Concern had never sounded so transactional before. Then Ethan texted. "Hey sis. Crazy timing. Can we talk later?" That was when the tightness settled in my chest. Because I knew that tone. Friendly. Casual. Pre-request. I didn't respond. That evening, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker on one by one. The silence felt earned. Peaceful. Until my phone rang. "Mom." I let it ring twice before answering. "Lauren," she said warmly, like no time had passed. "Your place looks beautiful." "Thank you," I replied, keeping my voice even. "We had no idea you were living like this." I waited. She never filled silence unless she wanted something. "Well," she continued, "your father and I were just talking, with everything going on with Ethan." There it was. She launched into it smoothly. Ethan's business venture. A short-term investment. A temporary setback. "He just needs a little help," she said. "And you seem comfortable." Comfortable. Not happy. Not proud. Comfortable enough to be useful. "I need to think about it," I said. Her tone shifted instantly. Cooler. Sharper. "Family helps family, Lauren." "I'll get back to you," I repeated. After we hung up, my phone buzzed again. A text from Ethan. "Mom said you might help. We're talking $39,000. I'll pay you back." I stared at the number. It sat there like a test. And suddenly, Every memory lined up perfectly. Every ignored call. Every forgotten milestone. Every silence. They hadn't come back because they missed me. They came back because they saw proof I was valuable now. I locked my phone and leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't just about money. It was about whether I would finally stop being invisible. Or disappear on my own terms. I didn't answer Ethan that night. Or the next morning. By Monday afternoon, my phone looked like a hostage situation. Missed calls from my parents. Texts layered with urgency pretending to be concern. Are you okay? Just want to talk. Don't shut us out like this. I went to work anyway. Badge scanned. Elevator up. Coffee in hand. On the surface, my life moved smoothly. Inside, something old was waking up. At lunch, I finally opened Ethan's message again. $39,000. The exact number sat heavy, precise, rehearsed. I thought back to the last time he'd asked for help. 5 years ago. A temporary loan for a startup that vanished in 6 months. I'd paid off his credit card then. No thank you. No repayment. Just silence, until now. That evening, my parents showed up unannounced. I knew it was them before I even opened the door. My mother's perfume drifted through the hallway like muscle memory. Lauren, she said, arms already reaching. I stepped back instead. Inside my own living room, they looked uncomfortable. My father stayed standing. My mother touched the back of a chair like it might bite her. This place is big, Dad said. Must have cost a fortune. I didn't respond. Mom cleared her throat. We just want to talk. Face to face. So I sat. And waited. Ethan arrived 20 minutes later. Late, as always. Same crooked smile. Same confidence that somehow never faded, no matter how many times life bailed him out. Wow, he said, looking around. Didn't expect this. That wasn't a compliment. It was disbelief. Mom folded her hands. Sweetheart, your brother is under a lot of pressure. Ethan sighed dramatically. The business partner bailed. The lease penalty kicked in. I'm drowning. I nodded slowly. And you want me to sell my condo, I said calmly. Silence. Dad shifted. Well, you could rent somewhere smaller. Temporarily. There it was. They had planned this. Ethan leaned forward. It's not like you'd be homeless. You've got savings. And a great job. I felt something click inside my chest. Not anger. Clarity. You didn't call me for 2 years, I said. Not once. You didn't ask where I lived. You didn't know what I did. Mom waved a hand dismissively. We knew you were fine. Fine. Invisible. Convenient. And now, I continued, you flew across states because you saw a photo. Ethan scoffed. That's not fair. I stood up. You didn't come to see me, I said. You came to audit me. The room went quiet. Mom's voice hardened. Family sacrifices for each other. I already did, I replied. For years. Dad finally spoke. You're being selfish. The word landed exactly where they intended. Old. Familiar. A trigger they'd used my whole life. But it didn't work anymore. I walked to the window, city lights glowing below. You raised me to believe love meant usefulness, I said softly. I don't believe that anymore. Mom's eyes filled with tears right on cue. Do you know what this will do to us? I turned back. You didn't ask what being ignored did to me. Ethan's voice sharpened. So that's it. You're abandoning us. I smiled faintly. No, I said. I'm just not rescuing you. They left an hour later. No hugs. No apologies. That night, my cousin Hannah called. "I think you should know," she said quietly, "your mom posted something." She sent me the screenshot. A vague post. No names. Just implication. Some people forget where they come from once money changes them. The comments were already filling up. Sympathy. Support. Judgment. I stared at it, heart steady. They weren't just asking for money anymore. They were preparing to punish me for saying no. And that's when I understood something terrifying. They didn't need my help. They needed my guilt. The post spread faster than I expected. By morning, strangers were weighing in on my character. People who had never met me felt qualified to decide what kind of daughter I was. Ungrateful. Cold. Changed by money. My phone stayed silent. No messages from my parents. No calls from Ethan. That silence wasn't accidental. It was strategic. 3 days later, the next move came. My HR director emailed me. "Lauren, could you stop by my office this afternoon?" The tone was neutral. Too neutral. I arrived exactly on time, pulse steady. She gestured for me to sit, then slid her tablet across the desk. A message. Anonymous. It claimed I had used company resources to financially exploit family members. That I had pressured my brother into risky investments. That my lifestyle didn't match my salary. I laughed once. A short, sharp sound. "This is absurd," I said. She nodded. "I believe you. But we still have to document it." I knew immediately where it came from. When I got home, my mother's name finally lit up my screen. I answered. "Why?" I asked calmly, "did you contact my employer?" Silence. Then she sighed. "We were worried," she said. "About how this might look if it escalates." "You tried to damage my career," I said flatly. Her voice sharpened. "You left us no choice." That sentence hit harder than any insult. No choice. I ended the call. That night, I slept for exactly 2 hours. Not because I was afraid of losing my job. But because the last illusion finally broke. This wasn't desperation. This was entitlement. The next morning, I requested my credit report. And that's when I found it. A loan application from 4 years ago. Rejected. But not before my personal information had been used. My name. My social security number. I dug deeper. 2 more attempts. Different banks. Same applicant. Ethan. I sat very still at my kitchen table, sunlight creeping across the floor. Memories rearranged themselves. My credit dip years ago. The awkward explanations from banks. The way my parents insisted it must have been a mistake. It wasn't. They had known. I drove to my parents' house that afternoon. No warning. No call. My mother answered the door, eyes widening. "Lauren. Did you know," I asked evenly, "that Ethan used my identity to apply for loans?" Her face drained of color. Behind her, Dad stood frozen. "He was desperate," she whispered. That was her defense. Not denial. Not apology. Just justification. I stepped inside, voice low but steady. "You protected him," I said. "And you sacrificed me." Dad finally spoke. "It never went through. No real damage was done." I turned to him slowly. "You don't get to decide what damage counts." Ethan arrived minutes later. Someone had texted him. He didn't look surprised. "I was going to tell you," he said. I laughed again. This time, there was no humor in it. "You tried to steal my future," I said. "And now you want my money." Mom stepped between us. He's your brother. I looked at her. And I was your daughter. The room felt smaller. Airless. You've always been strong, she said softly. You didn't need as much. That sentence explained everything. I walked out without another word. That evening, I sat on my balcony again. Same city. Same view. Different woman. I called an attorney. Then I called HR back and disclosed everything myself. Full transparency. No fear. 2 days later, the police contacted Ethan. Fraud. Identity misuse. My parents left me 7 voicemails. Crying. Begging. Accusing. You're destroying this family. No. I was refusing to lie for it anymore. The final message came from my father. If you go through with this, don't bother calling us again. I stared at the screen. Then I replied with 6 words. I won't be needing to. For the first time in my life, I felt something unfamiliar settle in. Not guilt. Relief. But peace has a way of revealing one last truth. Because what I didn't know yet was that my family hadn't just come for money. They had come to erase proof that I had finally escaped them. The police investigation moved faster than I expected. Ethan's lawyer called first. Then my mother. Then my father. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I focused on what I could control. Work. Sleep. Silence. For the first time, my life felt uncluttered. No emotional noise. No constant anticipation of the next demand. A week later, a certified envelope arrived at my door. Inside was a notice of intent to sue. Not from Ethan. From my parents. They were claiming emotional distress. Defamation. Family harm. I read the letter once. Then again. And I laughed. Not because it was funny. But because it confirmed what I already knew. They didn't see me as their child. They saw me as a problem that refused to stay quiet. My attorney was calm. Methodical. They don't have a case, she said. But they're hoping pressure will make you fold. They don't know me anymore, I replied. 3 days later, my parents showed up again. This time, without Ethan. My mother looked smaller somehow. Older. My father avoided my eyes. We just want this to stop, Mom said. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. So do I. Dad cleared his throat. If you drop the charges, we'll drop everything else. There it was. The negotiation. You want me to lie, I said evenly. Again. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We raised you. Yes, I said. And I raised myself after that. The silence stretched. You don't understand, she whispered. If this goes public. I met her gaze. You taught me appearances mattered more than truth. I don't live that way anymore. Dad finally looked up. If you walk away from us now, he said, there's no coming back. I nodded slowly. I already left. You just didn't notice. They stood there for a moment longer, waiting. For collapse. For regret. It never came. They left without another word. 2 months later, the case concluded. Ethan accepted a plea deal. No prison time. But a permanent mark on his record. My parents sold their house quietly. Moved out of state. No farewell. No apology. The final email came from my mother. I hope you're happy. I didn't reply. Because I was. Not in the loud, triumphant way people expect. But in a quieter, deeper sense. I slept through the night. I laughed without checking my phone. I planned a future that didn't include bracing myself for disappointment. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the city, I stood on my balcony again. Same view. Same skyline. But now, it felt like freedom instead of distance. I thought about the girl I used to be. The one who believed love had to be earned. The one who thought being needed was the same as being valued. She didn't disappear. She grew stronger. My phone buzzed with a comment on Hannah's old post. Someone had written, "Must be nice to abandon your family once you get rich." I typed a response. Then deleted it. Some stories don't need defending. I closed the app, stepped back into my condo, and locked the door. Not to keep anyone out, but to keep myself safe. Because the hardest lesson I ever learned wasn't how to forgive them. It was how to stop waiting. For people who only remembered me when they needed something. And that's when I finally understood. Walking away wasn't cold. It was survival. If this story made you feel seen, if you've ever been valued only for what you could give, share your choice in the comments. Like the video if this story stayed with you. And subscribe to Revo Tales, where stories remind us that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary.